All right. This is for the test from 3.9 where you were solving equations. So I've also set up the blocks to show how you're going to put your answers in the Google sheet that is attached that you need to fill out after you answer your problems on the paper set. So first one here in the bell ringer, you're given values for x and y and you need to solve. So all we're doing here is just putting those values in for the variables. So 5 times 4 minus 4 times negative 2. So this is going to be 20 minus 4 times negative 2 is a negative 8. So that's a negative 8 that you're minusing. So you're actually adding 8 to it. So your outcome would be 28. Okay, and there's the yellow box. That's where you just put your value. Okay, here, same thing. It's going to be 7 times 2 divided by 2 minus 2 times 4.5. Okay, so you get 14. 14 divided by 2 is just going to be 7. 7 minus 2 times 4.5 is going to be a negative 9. Okay, so then your outcome here, this is going to equal a negative 2. Okay, number 3 here, x minus 4 equals negative 5. So it's a one-step equation. If we're minusing to undo addition or subtraction, we use addition. So our additive inverse is going to be 4. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. Okay, when you do that, negative 5 plus 4 is just going to be a negative 1. So you're going to have two boxes on the Google Sheet. One's your additive inverse. That's what you're either adding or subtracting. When you're adding, it's just the number by itself. If it's going to be subtracting, you just make that a minus 4. Okay, if this was plus 4, your additive inverse would be minus 4, and you put a minus in front of that 4. Okay, and then the solution is what does x equal? So x here would equal negative 1. Okay, next one, same thing, solving equations. And so we are looking for the additive inverse or multiplicative inverse now. So we are given negative 7x equals 49. So we're multiplying by a negative 7. The multiplicative inverse would be negative 1 over 7. Because essentially we are dividing by 7, which is the same as multiplying by a negative 1 over 7. Okay, so when you divide both by 7, this you're going to be left with x is equal to, and then you've got 49 divided by 7, which is just 7. It would actually be negative 7. So then here for our solution, you put in negative 7. Okay, likewise, we've got fractions here. So x minus 3/4. How do we get rid of a minus 3/4? You add 3/4. So notice there's two cells here. Your numerator goes in the top one, denominator goes in the bottom one. Okay, so we're adding 3/4 to both sides. Okay, this is 8 times 2, which is 16, plus 3 is 19. So 19/8. Okay, this we have to have a common denominator, so we're going to multiply these by 2. So you get 19/8 plus 6/8, which is going to equal 25/8, which when you simplify, 8 can go into 25 3 times with 1 left over, so 3 1/8. So you have 3 boxes here. One is for your whole number, and so this case it'd be 3. Our numerator goes on the top here, denominator goes on the bottom. So we've plugged our answer in there. Okay, this is just showing where these are coming from. Okay, next one. So now it's x divided by 4. that shouldn't be there. We'll put it there in a second, but to get rid of the division of 4, your multiplicative inverse is multiplying by 4. So our multiplicative inverse here is 4. So 4 times 4. Our 4's cancel out here, leaving us with x is equal to 28. So our solution would be 28. So that goes there. Our multiplicative inverse goes in the multiplicative inverse spot. Okay, next you've got 2/3 x equals 2 5/6. So we have to take the multiplicative inverse. The multiplicative inverse of a fraction is just that fraction flipped. Okay, that's all we're doing. We're just taking the 2/3 and flipping it to 3/2. So when we multiply both sides by the multiplicative inverse, that's going to cancel out, leaving us with x. Okay, but before we can multiply those, you have to convert this to an improper fraction. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 5 gives us 17/6 times 3/2. We can't cross simplify, so we just need to multiply. This is going to give us 30/51 over 12. Okay, we can convert this to a mixed number. 12 can go into 51. 12 can go into 51 4 times. And then that'll be 48. So the leftover is going to be 3. Oh, you can cross simplify. Sorry, you can divide this by 3 and this by 3. So that would give you 1 and 2. So that would actually just be 17. So this is going to be 17 over 4. So 17/4. 4 can go into 17 4 times with a remainder of 1. And denominator would be 4. So 4 and 1/4. So you'd put 4 in for the whole number in the big box, and then 1 and 4. 1 in the numerator, 4 in the denominator. Okay. Two-step equations. It's going to be the same, but now you have an additive inverse, multiplicative inverse, and a solution. So our first step is you have to get rid of the constant, the one that you're adding or subtracting to the variable. So we do that by minusing 11. So that would be our additive inverse would be -11. Okay, so that's going to leave us with 4x is equal to 12. Okay, now our multiplicative inverse of 4, so to get rid of a multiplication of 4, you divide by 4 or you multiply by 1/4. So the multiplicative inverse would be 1/4. That's going to leave us with x is equal to 3. And that 3 is our solution. So that 3 goes in the solution spot. Okay, next one. So you've got x divided by 3 minus 2.7 equals 4.8. So this one actually isn't going to have a fraction for our multiplicative inverse. So first step, get rid of the constant, the number not attached to a variable, or that you're adding or subtracting to the variable. So to get rid of the minus 2.7, you're going to add 2.7. So that's going to be our additive inverse, 2.7. Okay, that's going to give us x divided by 3 is equal to, oops, it's going to be 6, it's going to be 7. 7.5. Okay, now to undo division of 3, you're going to multiply by 3. Okay, so our multiplicative inverse here is 3. 3 times 7.5 is going to be 22.5 for our solution. So x is equal to 22.5. This goes into our solution. That 3 goes in for our multiplicative inverse. And the 2.7 goes in for our additive inverse. Okay, last ones are mostly done already for us. So it says list all equations that are equivalent to the tape diagram. So there's a couple parts on this one. One, you have a list of equations. You got to choose which ones are equivalent. They're going to be listed with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's going to be a drop-down menu with the list. You choose the ones that are true. So here, the ones that are true, we've got 45 equals 5, parentheses x plus 5. X plus 5 is equal to 45 divided by 5. That is 1. 45 equals 5x plus 25. So they've used the distributive property here. They've just done one step of solving on the second one here. And then this is the one that we see in the tape diagram. Okay, so that's one part. Then you have 3 parts in 3B, 3C, and 3D. And what that's asking for is, what does the X represent? So according to this story problem, it says Rachel was making gift bags for 5 of her students and placed the same number of pencils in each bag and 5 pins. Altogether, she gave away 45 items. So what does the X represent? Well, this would be the number of pencils. Oh, that's not how you spell pencils. Okay, what does the 5 represents? That would be the number of pins. And then 45 represents total number of items. Okay, there's only 3 selections, so you're going to choose from that selection to fill out your answer there on the test. Okay, and the last one, writing an equation and solving. So this is total equals, it's going to be coefficient, and the x is going to be behind it. It's going to be plus, this is going to say constant. Oops. Constant is the, once again, let's put con. The value that you have already saved up that is not going to be multiplied by a variable. So the equation says, write an equation and solve. A bike costs $12.99.47. You have saved $3.99.47 and plan to save $150 each week. How many weeks will it take to save enough money to buy the bike? Okay, so the total coefficient and constant, done that here. So the total that the bike costs is $12.99.47. I'm going to have to make those bigger. So actually I'll just do this. So there's the total. The coefficient is the number that we're saving 150 each week, and x is our variable, meaning the number of weeks. So we're going to multiply 150 by the number of weeks we save. Okay, our constant here is the 399.47. And then that's our one-time amount. We only have that once. We're not multiplying that by anything. So that goes in our constant spot. Okay, I went through the steps to solve. So you get rid of the constant first. That's going to leave us with $900 left to make. And if we're going to do 150 each month, we're going to divide by 150. And you'll see that it's going to take us 6 weeks. And then this would be the solution. All right, so that is how you go about solving and placing your values or your answers in the Google Sheet that's attached to the test for 3-9.